Hi, I'm Jonathan Knight, and welcome to B Movie Madness. What I'm reviewing tonight is very different than what I'm used to reviewing. It's been something that's been in the works for a while. I've had to write a bunch of notes. I got like 2 pages of notes here that I'll be reading. So if you see me looking down and everything, what this is my good friend Tony Masiello of SOVHorror.com sent me some new stuff to review, and what he sent me was a TV show, a cable access show that he shot in 2007 called Mondo Bizarro, which is a 6 episode series about um, that showcases these educational films from the 60s and 70s and all around education films from various decades, and they're all hosted by Amber Glassine of the pop punk band The Glassines. And in between the educational films, before and after, there's vintage drive-in ads, movie trailers, and burlesque show at the very end of each episode. And I love those drive-in ads and all those old school movie trailers. There's Plan 9 from Outer Space, Attack of the Giant Leeches, Invasion of the Blood Farmers, quite a few of them. They're all entertaining as all hell, and I love those old drive-in ads with hot buttered popcorn and candy and all that. Um, I was a little disappointed I didn't see that very erotic hot dog driving ad. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's that one where the hot dog is sliding right into the bun. It's very erotic. Um, very, very strange. But that's not what I'm talking about tonight. I will be talking about Mondo Bizarro. Now, how I'm going to approach this review is I'm just going to talk about each episode. Um, and talk about the educational film and my thoughts on it. I've never really watched too many educational films, so this is actually really a new experience for me. But it was a very interesting, and very entertaining experience. So let me get into it. First episode is As Boys Grow, and that educational film is about a coach teaching young boys about puberty, about when they get to that point where they start, getting thoughts in their head and they start wanting to play with themselves. It talks about masturbation. It talks about wet dreams or nocturnal emissions, which is a word I've never used before. I just always called it wet dreams, which is very interesting. At the end of the episode, Amber Glassine she says that it was a very open and honest conversation. A lot of those educational films back in the day was, talk about how masturbation is evil, and this one does not. This one is very, a positive outlook about masturbation, which is, nice to hear. It is very entertaining. It's a little funny to watch because it's you're thinking about the time period it came out, and they're talking about these kind of subject matter that probably was made quite a few people uncomfortable back in the day, but it was very entertaining. I do want to note that this episode is free on YouTube if you want to give it a watch. It's also an extra feature on the Zombrella House of Horror DVD. So if you have that, it's on there. So it's really cool that Tony did that. But I really liked that one. It was very interesting. I didn't really learn anything I didn't know before, but it was still pretty interesting and it was very highly entertaining. Episode 2 has two educational films. The first one's The Party. That's basically just a bunch of kids drinking and smoking. It's not really that long, and it looks like it was more fun than trying to be like alcohol is evil. It looked like they were having a good time, in my opinion. So I really don't have much to say about that one other than them kids know how to party. The second half is called Drug Addiction, and now this one, I see my notes here. This one I have a lot to talk about, or at least entertaining to talk about. This one is kind of split into two parts. The first part is about young teens. It talks about drugs, about how where cocaine comes from, where heroin comes from, where opiates, how everything is made. It talks a little about marijuana and how you can build a tolerance toward drugs and you become dependent on it. It talks about, the drugs themselves. Well, the second half actually tells you a story about a man named Marty, a young teen named Marty, who he becomes addicted to heroin, and they do that thing where they blame marijuana and peer pressure for marijuana and peer pressure is what got him hooked on like heroin, and he ultimately becomes a drug dealer himself, getting other young people addicted, and then eventually he goes to, I believe, jail and gets clean. that one, the first part, I knew where cocaine came from. I knew opiates, so I knew that stuff. But the story about the young kid, except for the whole marijuana pushing him and harder drugs thing, which I don't agree with at all, it was actually a well done little story, and it does show you how you become dependent on drugs, and you eventually it shows him it shows Martin, the young man Marty, stealing, and eventually stealing to get money to do it. It was very interesting, and educational. Now the third episode are drugs are like that, so it's another drug theme one. This one is not as interesting in my opinion. The best part of it is one, the theme song is so catchy but annoying. I have it stuck in my head about the drugs are like that, which is a phrase they repeat throughout the whole short. They'll talk about something, they'll be like, yeah, and drugs are like that. Um, and the best part was this kid is building this Lego set that is powered, where he's building it. The sister says, is it a windmill? He's putting it all together, and when he hooks it up, it moves around, and eventually smokes up and falls over. But that was interesting. I found that entertaining, but it wasn't, in my opinion, as interesting as episode two. That drug related episode. That I think episode two was better, but the theme song and the whole Lego thing made it an entertaining watch for me. And I will say all of Amber's host segments are very entertaining. Now episode four is keep off the grass. Now they're not talking about grass like the lawn. They're talking about the hippie lettuce. They're talking about the ganja. This one's all about anti-marijuana. And this one is hilariously, not only hilariously dated, but just it's one of those ones where they get most of the information wrong, in my opinion. Where I'm not a marijuana smoker, but I do support the medical use of it and all that. And this one, it's about a kid who his mom finds his stash. Ooh, not good. And the father talks to him. And the kid says, "Well, you like to smoke, you like to drink. Smoking could cause cancer. Drinking could cause bad liver." And the kid has very good points. And the thing is, marijuana is much safer than both of those things. But the father does, makes him, find out the bad things about pot. So it goes through like somebody getting arrested for buying it. There's one point this kid gets arrested for buying it. And of course, the kid eventually the main kid stops smoking grass. But that one was highly entertaining, mainly because of how dated it is with its information. But it is a good time capsule of what they thought of pot back then. Episode 5 is Measure of a Man. Now, this one, I have to say, of all 6 episodes, this is probably my least favorite. I think even Amber in it, mentions that this one's kind of boring. It's just young kids drinking beer and being pressured into drinking beer. Um, yeah, it was just not much to it. I think the best part of it was Amber getting drunk at the end and falling over. And then there was a cameo by Tony, which was really cool to see. But yeah, there wasn't really much to it. It's just kids, you want to drink some beer, it's just young kids getting pressured to drink beer. But like I said, the cameo by Tony and the whole drunk bit with Amber was a lot of fun. Episode 6. Now this one right here. This is the one where I learned the most, mainly because it's a subject matter I really didn't. I knew, I know a little bit, but as a male, I don't know that much. And that is Molly Grows Up. And while the first episode was about male puberty, episode 6 is about female puberty. And it's in 2 halves. The first half is, or so it's cut in half. The first half is about a girl named Molly who is growing up and she ends up getting her first period, talking to her parents about it. The dad in it, I think it's the same actor that played the coach. They mentioned this in the episode, and he's very sleazy, unintentionally sleazy, but he's sleazy nonetheless. Um, it's about her going through the change and talking to her mother about it. And the second half, which is where a lot of the information is a nurse substituting a class and talking to all the the preteen girls or whatever about the change. She talks about menstruation, how babies are made. She talks about pads versus tampons. the things you can and can't do while you're menstruating and all that noise. See, a lot of it I did not know, mainly because, as a male, I felt like I don't need to know that. I'm a man. But eventually, the good thing after watching this is I actually learned a thing or two I did not know. So I do appreciate that for the first time in the history of B-Movie Madness, I actually learned something. So I can have to thank Tony for that. Thank you so much, Tony. I have learned a bunch of things. I've learned that grass is bad. I learned about menstruation. I learned about how people get peer pressured in drinking and smoking, and how drugs are like that. Drugs are like that, man. But seriously, episode 6 was probably my favorite simply because I learned the most out of it. I would say the most entertaining maybe is the Keep Off the Grass one, just because I'm just shaking my head and laughing throughout it. But definitely episode 6 was the most educational of the lot, at least for me. Learning is fun, yo. But that was all 6 episodes. Very, very interesting. I never really, like I told you before, I told at the beginning, I never really watched educational films before, so this was kind of a new experience. I have seen a little bit of them here and there, but this was the first time where I watched like a whole bunch of them at once. I watched all 6 episodes in the morning a while back, and then I rewatched some of them to finish my notes. I only had half the notes finished. I like to see Elm a lot, but it was very entertaining. It was probably definitely the most interesting thing I've ever reviewed on here, and I really thank Tony for that, for giving me the chance to review it, and for giving me a chance to review all the other stuff that he sent me. And he has a bunch of stuff in the works. I'm telling you what, this man is working his ass off to deliver some shot-on-video goodness to you. DBQ will be coming out soon, I believe. He acquired the rights to 6 of the Warlock titles, and the first is DBQ, and the trailer's out right now, and I'll embed that and the Mondo Bizarro episode at the end, and I'll also shoot a link down below where you can buy Mondo Bizarro and all the other shot-on-video horror stuff. If you like my channel, please give me a thumbs up, comment. Have you ever watched an educational movie? What's your favorite educational film, if you have seen any? But other than that, like I said, thumbs up, comment, do the little bell thing, whatever, I'm not sponsored by anything. I'm sponsored by a water bottle down here. That's about it. But like I said, I highly recommend checking out Mondo Bizarro. Check out the first episode, and if you like it, buy a copy. Support independent artists like Tony. He really, really appreciates it, and I even appreciate it when you help him out. So thank you. I'm Jonathan. It's been B-Movie Madness. Thanks for watching.